Anime Studio. Face rigging. Rigging the face so that it can show emotions, do head turns, and lip sync can be quite complex. The techniques have changed over the years, and I'm going to be showing Anime Studio 10, and in particular, I'm primarily using SmartBones to control the facial features. For the mouth and the eyes, I use the technique of hidden features that was described by Victor Paredes. That's described in other videos. For the eyes, I have a SmartBone controlling blink, a SmartBone controlling eye up and down movement, and eye left and right movement. I also have a separate bone that's used for the eyebrows. For the mouth, I have the open and close bone and the stretch and squash bone. For the head in general, I have a head turn bone, an up and down bone, and I've played around with an around bone to control the face looking in the upper left, lower right type of combinations. However, right now I'm not using the around bone. I also use a phoneme bone and switch layers for lip syncing, but I'll talk about that later. When setting up SmartBones, I highly recommend that you check the box in Anime Studio 10, the latest upgrade, that shows that you create two separate actions, one for positive and one for negative. The reason is that will allow the initial bone state to correspond to the way that the face is by default. The implication is that you have better bone control when you've got multiple bones controlling the same feature, such as the mouth. So if I move the open and close, and then the phonemes, we can get all kind of strange behavior because the two bones are interacting. However, if I set one of the bones to its default state and then move the other bone, we don't get that strange interaction. And so it's good to set it up so that you've got the two different actions for the bone movement. In a similar fashion, I suggest that using the bones, that you should set them up just from -90 to 90, or a symmetrical type of arrangement. I tried with the up and down to do a different kind of behavior to make it look like, you know, the bone points in the direction that the face moves. The problem is you can get this popping type of effect. So I strongly recommend that you just set them up with a -X to +X type of arrangement. One other point to mention is that bone blending can work pretty well. The blending of the motions can work pretty well as long as it's not too extreme. But let me show an example. If I move the head turn to one extreme and then I try to blend it with the eyebrows, that can work until you get too far away and mixing different bones. So one technique that you can kind of think of is to create separate bones to control the very extreme blending. Okay, let me talk about lip sync. So the preferred approach that's described in Anime Studio 10, or what you may see on the webinars, uses the open and close and the stretch and squash combined with the mask layers. And that is very nice, but I like the phoneme bone so that I can dial it specifically to different phonemes that are of interest to me, such as the L, the W, or the M, these kinds of things. Still, both of those are not able to hook into Papagayo or automatic lip sync. So I also have created the switch layers. And so the mask layer is just the grouping layer is just another layer in these switch layers. So I can use the switch layer to hook in with Papagayo or the automatic lip sync, or if I want to manually control it with a bone, I can use the phoneme bone or the open stretch, open and close and stretch and squash type of approach. since the phoneme bone actually gives you a little bit more control, I actually prefer that approach, but since it's manual, it takes more time to lip sync, but you can get subtle variations. So what I'm working on is a script that will actually read the words from the dialogue and turn that into angle positions for the phoneme bone. So that's how I construct the face. Of course, I'm just showing a generic face here, but you can use it for any particular face. And once you've got all these bones set up, you can have a very powerful rig that can be used for showing all kinds of emotions.